But right now I'm joined by Alastair Campbell, and he was the communication chief at Number 10. Now, I want to ask you straight away, you've been involved in some of these select committees. What's it going to be like? Rupert Murdoch may make an opening statement, but is he going to have time to say much?
Well, I'm surprised that there's only an hour for the Murdochs. I've done select committees where you've been there for several hours, and so that I think is maybe to their advantage. I think they do have to work out what they want to achieve through it. They should have been able to work out all the difficult questions. They should have thought through the answers. I think the one who's got a lot of really difficult questions to answer is James Murdoch, because of his authorisation of these massive out-of-court settlements, which he says that he didn't know, wasn't in full possession of all the facts. Well, what were those facts? Presumably he's gone and found them out now, and I think they can legitimately probe him pretty rigorously on that. I think for Rupert Murdoch, for a lot of British people, they don't know what he sounds like. I mean, he doesn't give interviews, he doesn't appear much in the public. So I think there'll just be quite a lot of interest in him. And I think for the questioning there, I think, is about the culture, the extent to which he accepts that he created a culture which led ultimately to the sort of practices we've seen exposed in the news of the world. And
they'll be fighting not only to repair their reputation, but also to distance themselves, like you said, from any alleged criminal activities. But the police investigation is going to go on for some time. In your view, can they make much progress on repairing their reputation while that's still happening?
They should certainly see this, I think, as an opportunity, a strategic opportunity, to say the kind of things that they've been so slow in saying up till now. They've been in denial about this. They've just been willing it away. And I think they'll understand that they probably deep down have a bit of contempt for some of these guys who've been chasing them, the parliamentarians. But if any of that shows, it will damage them really, really badly. I think they've got to show respect. They've got to show a bit of humility. And the most important thing of these inquiries is to listen to the question and then try and take all the emotion out of it and give very factual answers. I mean, if they get on a kind of, high horse, or they start to talk about, what they've contributed to the world and so forth, I think it will be a very, very, very bad place to get to. So I think in terms of any opening statement, it should be very much in the tone of the advertising campaign that they've been running. But you're absolutely right. They're fighting for their reputation here. And, channels like yours and some of the other business channels, the people at the real sharp end of money are going to be looking at these guys now and thinking, can they still be trusted to run this enormous organisation?
Let me ask you about B-Sky B now. It's operated in this country for 20 years, fairly successfully. Realistically, can James Murdoch's leadership of that company be questioned now? Is there going to be some sort of change there? Or again, do we need to sort out the criminal allegations first?
Well, you're talking about so many things now operating at so many levels. You've got the political fallout for David Cameron because he hired Andy Coulson as his communications director and because of his relationships with some of the key people involved in this now. You've got the police investigation continuing, and that's been now thrown into something of turmoil by the resignation of the top police officer in London and by the guy who led the first inquiry so badly. You've then got the judge-led inquiry that's going to be looking at phone hacking and also the broader practice of the media, and you've got this thing, these select committee inquiries today. So you've got all that going on, and meanwhile, I suspect you'll have a lot of people in New York and elsewhere who are watching the performance of James Murdoch in particular, and actually they'll decide the answer to your question. I can't give you that answer now.
But can I ask you about how this could impact David Cameron's reputation? There have been calls from the opposition that he has questions to answer on it. Do you think that he does? And do you think that eventually he may find questions about his own relationship over this extended period of time with people at the centre of these alleged hackings?
Well, there are legitimate questions to ask about David Cameron's judgment, because ultimately when people have a prime minister, they might agree, they might like them or dislike them, they might agree with their politics or not, but they want them to have good judgment. And he showed profoundly bad judgment in hiring Andy Coulson as communications director at a time when it was so obvious the phone hacking scandal was not going to go away. And I think that that's the one thing for him. I don't buy this idea this is going to force him out of office, he's going to be swept away by the whole thing. But I do think until he owns up to the fact that he made a very bad error of judgment. And the other thing, for your financial viewers, George Osborne, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, was the guy who brought Andy Coulson in. So, and he's just done a runner. He has disappeared from the scene of the crime.
Questions to be answered by him.
They've both got questions to answer about why they made such a decision when it was so blindingly obvious to anybody with media and political judgment the phone hacking scandal wasn't going away.
Mr. Campbell, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.